I have here is a comparison of three languages. I have the reconstructions of Proto Bantu, and I have the Egyptian language, and I have the Sumerian language here on the right, and I have the sound correspondences for the consonants on the far corner over here, right? Now, notice the words that I have on the left. They're consonants. The template for which the vowels will change and give different meanings is pang or ping. So the consonant is P, and then a nasalized voice velar G, which gives us the like in the word hunger. But when you look at the words, if you're just doing inspectional correspondences, you're just looking here, this doesn't look like the forms that you see here in Egyptian and Sumerian. So this word panga means country or foreign country. It's a word for land or a place. In Egyptian, it becomes the suffix of the abstracts. So you got to understand that in the Chiena Intu languages, the word for ground or place, which becomes a word for country in a lot of languages, becomes grammaticalized as either a prefix or a suffix of the abstract. And you see this in the Egyptian language for those of you who have studied ancient Egyptian, for example, when you see the leg and foot glyph, the B glyph, that is it's a word for foot, and it's also the word for place. And so you put boo, the W behind it, boo, and it becomes um, the word for place. And then it also substitutes as the prefix of abstracts. So Egyptian has a prefix bu of abstracts, and it also has a suffix of abstracts, which we say nawa, niwe, this right here. Some people say nu. They'll pronounce the W as a u sound. And so in Sumerian, it is nam, prefix of the abstract. Now I'm going to go back a number of slides. So just to remind you of something here. So remember, when you're coming back to review this lecture, pay attention to these slides here. Pause them and notice the sound interchanges between the consonants. So know that Egyptian M and B interchange, M and W interchange. So does R and N, and then so does this sound here with yer, and this sound with Z, B and W, B and P, and here are the source materials. So in Sumerian, these sounds interchange with each other. So we have Emisal, Emigur. Those are the two major branches. So M and N and N, N and N, S and S, sh and sh, S and N, etc., etc. These are sounds that interchange with each other in the first consonant position and in the second consonant position, right? And so here's some examples of that. So when I'm making the statements that I'll be making in the other slide, you'll understand what is here. So you know that N will interchange with D, and D also interchanges with Z, and N also interchanges with sh in Sumerian, and S. So we can go back here, and you can see that here in these words. So sh in at the bottom, sang. So sh and S, but notice shara and nira in this here, and notice this word here, shin buna, nig buna. The S, the sh, the fricative here, and this in the nasal here, they interchange. They're dialectical. So when you're seeing these correspondences here, understand in the language that B and W interchange, and so does B and M interchange. So we're seeing the correspondences here. This word here, pang, act, make in Bantu. Pangi, creator. In Egyptian is Neb, creator, builder. Nebi, goldsmith. Seneb, to build. Nibi, to fashion, to model, to gild. Sumerian, dim, to create, make, manufacture, to replace. Also nu, create. It lost the second syllable. And so when you say pang in Proto-Bantu, to plan, to intend. In Sumerian, nam, forethought, planning, understanding, instruction. Banga, God. Bongo, big and grand. Chikam, Neb, Lord, Master. Sumerian, Nam, Lord, Master. Ungi, flute, whistle. It's the instrument. But Sheneb, trumpet, too. Sumerian, Nab, a musician. So you have some semantic slippage here. And then you have Bangan, to agree. Bang, from meaning to plan, the same word here. And so Nanam, partial reduplication here, consent, assent, to consent. And also a dialectical variation of this word, she and sheg, to agree, to be in agreement with, to obey. That's what a consent is. You get an agreement, you get permission, etc., etc. So we see here these correspondences where this can only happen. These aren't inspectional. You can't say that Pong looks like Neb and that I'm just making up correspondences here. Or that Pong looks like them or Nam. They don't look alike. They don't sound alike. But that's because from the parent language, which we call China Intu, there was a number of sound changes in the language. So let's keep this in mind. So we do the same thing here. Pang, shoulder, shoulder blade. In Chikam, irabi, left hand, or arm. In Sumerian, zag, arm, shoulder, side. Pongo, oath, blood, pack. Ribit, riba, wishes, vow, oath. And in Sumerian, sangba, sangba'a, oath. Panga, country, foreign country again. In Neb, field, because it's just a word for land. In Sumerian, sug, steep, open country. And we can do this all going down to these bottoms here. That's why I say bring me your teachers. Because any linguist who would disagree obviously doesn't know how to do linguistics. And so you can see here that the PNG in Proto-Bantu is cognate with the NB and NW. And remember that when we go back to our comparisons in Egyptian, that this nasalized uvular trill alternates with N and R. So when you see this in one dialect, you'll see RN in another dialect. So let's go back to that second one. So when you see Pangi and how this nasalized uvular trill, in the other ones it becomes a full nasal. And you see the B that corresponds here, it becomes a nasal in these forms here. And so this is why the internal information is important in terms of the sound changes. But you can see it is consistent through Bantu, through Egyptian, and Sumerian. So when we talk about Panga, cranium in front, Shenebet, front, chest, throat, Sang, head, person, capital. Like all of these. And so this is a family resemblance. This is not chance look-alike. You can't say that we're doing inspectional resemblances. These correspond because they regularly correspond in the same position to the same sounds. This is how historical linguistics is done. And so, because linguistics is, excuse me, a, a, a product of logic and mathematics, it follows certain mathematical axioms. And so, this is an axiom called transitivity in logic and mathematics. And so, what you're seeing here is that if A implies or equals B, and B implies and equals C, therefore A equals C. I hope y'all get that. If A implies or equals B, and B implies or equals C, A therefore equals C, because they're all equivalent. So when you're going here, this is A equals B in this consonant position. That's what we're showing here in the correspondences on the right. And B equals C, therefore A equals C. This is a mathematical equation built on the principles of logic. And so, understanding, now let's look at ma'at. So remember, the central from the Egyptian, this column right here, the second to the going to the right, is Neb. So we have Neb and Nu corresponding with Pang over here, right? And you see the same thing and with the various Nab and Nam in Sumerian, right? So with Neb, Neb, Nim, Rem, Reb, same things here, right? So A equals B, and if A equals B and B equals C, therefore A equals C, right? That's the axiom, transitivity. So now, and I don't know why I have this on this row twice here. So now we're looking at the word ma'at, right? Or ma, or medic, because again, these are not two A sounds. These are not two vowels. These are both consonants, right? And so when you see this sound here, this M is a prefix. That's why I have the dot here. And the root is highlighted in red. So you have the nasalized fular trill corresponding to the N sound here in Neb. So notice ma, fabric, linen. Seneb, woven product to weave, fabric, fabrication. Marak, place, location. Inebu, a field. And there's other variations of this form here that reinforce this as well. Marak, water of the sky, water, salt water. Nu, water. Remember, B and W interchange. And so what happens is between two vowels, any of the labels, the becomes W in between those in between two vowels. So that's why you'll see an interchange between B and W sometimes. So marak, rope, seneb, cord, twine. Marak, to kill, to slaughter, sacrifice. Haneb, slaughter. Nebu, sin, damage. Barahu, wood, board, plank. Nebu, a wooden device. Barahuwa, a kind of wood. Newut, a kind of wood. So what is this telling you here? Oh, I'm sorry, I got to get that out of the way. What is this telling you here? That if A equals B and B equals C, A therefore equals C. So we showed here that Neb equals the root of Ma. There's different prefixes and suffixes to these biconsonant roots in ancient Egyptian. So these are both Egyptian dialectical variations. These are two different dialects for the same word here. Now, So what are we saying here based on the principle of transitivity? If Proto-Bantu P or Ping equals Egyptian Neb, and because I wrote this in French for the French, I should have retranslated it back into English, but if, see, Proto-Bantu Ping equals Chicam Neb, and Chicam Neb equals, Chicam Neb equals Chicam Rak, therefore, alors, Chicam Rak equals Proto-Bantu or Bantu Bing. Bing equals At in the word Ma'at. So when we see words, for example, like Ma'at, put together to tie, Ma'at, orderly management, order, harmony. In Chibantu, for example, in Chiluba, we have the word Kabezia Impungu. That word Impungu is a word for God. Impungu comes from punga, meaning complete, perfect, to arrange perfectly, put in perfect order, order perfectly. Bunga, to agree with. This is a Chiluba. Bunga, to agree with, to be on good terms, to live in harmony, to act in concert. And remember what I said earlier, that Ma'at is just another word for God in the ancient Egyptian language. And we see the root of Ma'at, Banga, God. And we want to make this just a word for God to be Mbanga. Or Impungu, is what we say here. And then Bongo, big and grand. In the Bakongo language, they say in Zambia Impungu, which is cognate with Amin Ma'at. In Zambia Impungu Tulendo. Impungu is cognate with the word At. So when you find in Bantu the word Mpungu for Punga, this is Mat that y'all talking about in ancient Egypt. And the only way that this could be is if there was a historical relationship that they inherited from the common ancestor, which we call Chena Intu. So that's what, when we go back to this statement here, while some sounds may stay relatively unchanged, many undergo changes which leave phonetically non-identical correspondences. One wonders why correspondences that are not so similar are not more common in such proposals. The sound changes that lead to such non-identical correspondences often change cognate words so much that their cognancy is not apparent. These true but non-obvious cognates are missed by methods such as Greenberg's multilateral comparison, aka mass comparison, which seeks inspectional resemblances. In other words, when you can show these types of correspondences that I'm showing here makes the argument stronger, because you can't say that they borrowed these terms from the ancient Egyptians, nor did the ancient Egyptians borrow this from the Bantu speakers. You can only explain these correspondences and them not sounding alike as being inherited from the same ancestral language and tradition. In other words, going all the way back, let's go all the way back. But for Egypt, the sea marks the limit of the world, of a world, of an African world. Thus the dreams of Ogotameli, or the Bantu philosophy, carry precious elements which help us to understand better certain aspects of Egyptian religious thought. But we must expect to find little of Platonic thought in this world. In other words, it doesn't correlate, it's not in alignment with European thought. It's not in alignment with Asian thought. If you want to get to the core of the ancient Egyptian ideas and philosophies, which gave birth to the monuments and things that you see in ancient Egypt, you must consult groups like the Dogon. and the Bantu people
Mm-hmm.
because they hold the keys to unlocking the insights of ancient Egyptian. Notice that he didn't name any of the so-called groups that exist in the Middle East. Why can't we go to the Semites? Why can't we go to the Jews? Why
Mm-hmm.
can't we go to the Arabs?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we go to the Akkadians or the Caucasians or the Assyrians or the Hip? Why can't we go to those groups? If that's allegedly where these groups, ancient Egyptians, come from, why
Exactly.
can't we go to them to consult and ask critical questions in relation to ancient Egyptian thought and culture? Because they don't belong to the into universe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just some representations, some carvings in Zambia and Pungu out of Congo, and then Kabezia and Pungu. So the equivalent in Egyptian would be Amen Ma'at.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the Bantu and the Bakongo of saying Amen Ma'at. We get into another, I get into that in my latest book on Yoruba Orisha. Let me get the title right. Chiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological study, which I just released a couple months ago. And, so there's an explanation of how in zombie is cognate with the word Amen, and you can check the work. And so this would be equivalent to Amen Ma'at. And then this would be Kabezia. This is cognate with Ra. And this is another, people pronounce Ra wrong. um, but Ra is cognate with Orisha. And in one variation, this is Kabezia. Ka being a prefix, Bezia being a root. And in Chiluba, they would say Maweja, Maweja. And in the other languages, they would say uh, Marisha, Malisa. In Yoruba, they drop the prefix, so they just simply say Orisha. They have their own prefix, O. In Benin, they just simply say Leza. As a matter of fact, in Chiluba, they say Leza as well. But that says Ra Ma'at. You can say Ma'at Ra.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But Ra comes, saying first, and God and Zombie comes first. So
So, family, I'm gonna go ahead and just close this portion out. I feel led to bring forth. There is a sister out of the Kosa people from South Africa. Uh, she, I believe, is currently living in the United States now, but she have many videos up called. Her page is called Johnny John, and I want to show that in a video how the Jewish people, which their language really known to be Yiddish mixed with Hebrew, but the Hebrew actually stems from the Bantu, which Bantu stems from the say the meta netter, which is from the hieroglyphs. But the sister who's showing this is that there's many parts that the Jewish people speaks on and show documents, but it's actually words from, because when you look at all the people group, the Bantus in the languages, they're thinking that, oh, we'll pull from one, and it's like saying that they stole that aspect of, but it's like they followed the closer people closely, but they did not know or not think that years later, when Father started waking us up, and like I said, his brother Asar, he was 20 years ago, he was understanding, knowing that he was a Hebrew Israelite, and he was led to come out for whatever and however reason. He gave his testimony on it. You're welcome to check it out. And he went into Kemet and started studying that, and he's been doing this for 20 years, family. dealing with surrounding the language and all. So this will bridge the Bantu and the ones who call themselves Hebrew Israelites, even should, much even more closer to know that we really all the same people. But when we line things up with Kemet, we all those same people. We are those Egyptians. We are all the same people. So, I'm not here to twist your arms and try to have you to, oh, I want to believe you because, want you to believe me because I say so. No, I want you, of course, to go deep and seek the Most High for guidance and for the Most High to lead you. But why I'm here as a part of this, not say discovery, but a part of a testimony, a witness to say that we must go deeper because there are known facts that are just really, strong out there. And all before the Europeans and all were able to, the Jewish people and all were able to say what they want to say and how they want to say it. And then, we are like, well, we don't have no proof. We don't have this. Family, could this be a way that to shut them down one day? Father gonna put us on world stage. Our scholars get against their scholars, hands down. We go to courtroom, hands down. The courtroom, the two would stand before the judge, which is the Most High, I want to say, but on this level of on the earth plane, hands down, it is just show that through our brothers, ones that went and studied the hieroglyphs, Metanetter in Netter in Kemet, ones who have went and studied the language of all behind the root words to this, that, and the other. Family, hands down, with the customs that we know our people who have done and can vouch that they did it way before the Bible even came. The prophecies that would the from at least 3 or 4 counts, and I'll share that as the Most High give me leeway, that shows that the Most High warned that these people were coming and how they looked, that we're going to decolonize, that we're going to enslave. It's just so much, proof. The DNA is another big factor. How our people are lining up with the people in Africa throughout the Bantu tribes, but only not only that, line up with pharaohs out of Egypt. And I truly believe the way how this is all pointing, and it appears that the royal status, the royalty of this, all that we have been, taught that we are of royalty comes from the lineup of the pharaohs, of the kings and queens, but unto the Most High. And we fell from grace because in order for them to have lost the power and be scattered, just like the scripture says that they will be scattered to different nations as well. But we were thinking along the way, are we Israelites and they're the Egyptians? Are we all entwined because we all were in the same place at the same time? It just, it's just very, just it's so powerful as far as forthcoming and facts and truth. We got so much to stand on, and what they're standing on by people covering up, adding things in, or making it seem as it is because they can, because they hold the ink pen and they still have that power, which the power is what is being lessened, and it's actually the thread. It's what they had a rope before. Now they got a little thread holding them up to whatever. But it's all gonna come, family. It's all gonna be laid out before the whole world, and no one gonna be able to say nothing. As you hear this right now, you hear nothing. That's just how they gonna be in days to come. You understand? Okay, so I'll share about Johnny John to share that side of it, about how they entwine with the Yiddish and the Hebrew, which that stems from Bantu, which stems from, the whole thing along with the wall of Kemet. In our history, we sitting and thinking that the book, the Bible, is our history, not knowing they took from the walls of where the book is out on world stage, on walls, is our history. But we travel around with the book. So could I say that the Most High allow a book to come so much, because a lot of it in there is truth, that we will, because we will be scattered, so we weren't going to be able to get to Egypt all or whatever, Kemet, to see this. Well, that's a possibility, family. Not going to take anywhere away from that, because the Bible has a lot of great, wonderful, prophecies and understanding and knowledge and insightfulness, inciting words, and all that. So I'm not going to take nothing away from that per se. But at the end of the day, I want to believe in my Father, trust in the Most High for guidance and leading me, and for us to get unto Him, not so much to, of course, like I said, a royal status. That should be way back in the back of our heads, a mindset somewhere. Our goal and mode is to get back unto the Most High and understand why this truly happened, so we will never ever do this again, which the Bible says in prophecies that will be brought back and given back to us in folds, double folds or whatnot, of what has been taken away from us, that we will get back in the right lineup. But I tell you this is something else, family. So I'm gonna close out right here. Love you all, family. I'll share this brother's link again in this video, but this is actually part 3. Okay, take care and get to Matando.
Zambia and Pungu,
Well, let's listen to a little bit more
Abezia
of
and
this.
Pungu. These are actual names
Mm,
for the divine in Congo, in Bantu speaking Congo.
mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so
now,
I'm gonna go ahead and close out there. So take care, family.